I'll tell you, this is literally the hardest thing I have ever done. So how can we become that multi-billion-dollar unicorn? So we're actually moving our company from Europe to United States. I'm proud to say that my plans most of the time work out, no matter what anyone says. If you really want to have a successful startup with as minimum friction as possible, we're back and I'm alive. So what we've been doing all this summer is basically locked in grinding and fundraising and just taking care of our startup. So if you think that I was on vacation, no, I wasn't. We were raising this $1 million, and I'll tell you, this is literally the hardest thing I have ever done, is raising that money. And it seems like we haven't even figured it out for now. So let's see how it goes. Our most recent pivot is actually building this AI engine for exposing fake news. So, and it actually started when I saw that video of Barack Obama.
Because the video below would be AI generated. I'm also a deep fake.
So those are deep fakes, but they sound so realistic and they look so realistic. And we're thinking that, okay, now how in the world later in like 5 years we'll be able to distinguish what's true and what's not, especially as a user of social media, right? Because anybody can post anything and there's no way for you to know if it's true or not. So basically you're being controlled to what you think, what you consume. You give that control to everyone. So now we have to figure out what is the way to making us a multi-billion-dollar company. How can we actually become the unicorn with this AI hype, with this media stuff, especially with US elections coming up and elections in general and all the fake news around it. So how can we become that multi-billion-dollar unicorn? Now I'm just going to be brainstorming about my go-to-market strategy and how we're actually going to be doing that. So if you see any flaws with my plan, as sometimes there are flaws with my plan, but you know what? I'm proud to say that my plans most of the time work out, no matter what anyone says. Yeah, and if you're wondering why I'm in the forest, well, it's Finland. Everywhere is forest. So what we're building now is an AI engine for exposing fake news. We're developing this proprietary technology for verifying information based on bias, based on plagiarism, based on various sources of information. Because now we're actually trying to distinguish not just like whether something is true, but what is the relationship between people, between the source of information, and between the information itself. That's why we actually go deeper into social media also, especially as this is now one of the major sources of information. And because, well, anybody can write anything and people will believe it, apparently. So how it's done right now, right? There are all this AI startups verifying information. Well, the thing is, they just build on top of ChatGPT. Well, it's not even they build on top of ChatGPT. They just train it and they sell it, right? Except they cannot really sell it. I mean, what kind of reputable news media company would buy a ChatGPT wrapper? But anyways, ChatGPT is not reliable. It's not trustworthy. It will not give you and analyze whether information is reliable. So that's one thing that makes our startup to stand out from the crowd. In terms of our go-to-market, currently we're in Europe. As you can see, I'm in Finland. There are not a lot of money in Finland. There are trees. Yes, there are a lot of trees. But other than that, there's not much in here. Definitely not money. So no matter what anyone tells you in terms of startups, in terms of you can also have your startup in Europe, it's a great ecosystem. No. If you really want to have a successful startup with as minimum friction as possible, go to US, either California or New York. It's no matter what it is, it's just easier to raise money. It's easier to sell to people. People understand technology there better than here. In Europe, it's much more conservative. It's much harder to sell here. And on top of that, you gotta know the languages and all the stuff. It's no matter how hard Europe tries with their grants and with their everything, investors are just more conservative. At pre-seed, you have to have your clients, you have to have your product market fit, you have to have, at pre-seed, you already have to be worth something. You already have to have paying customers, and they're way more conservative, and they will take half of your company and give you 50,000. Well, great. So in the United States, it's way more easier in that way, but it doesn't mean that people will just give you money. Of course not. So what we're doing is we're actually moving our company from Europe to United States. We're going to establish a Delaware C Corp, like the most optimal way of establishing a company is establishing a Delaware C Corp. So the thing about our go-to-market strategy, we're focusing on news media companies and social media networks. Now, probably the question that you have in your head right now is like, if you're developing a completely unbiased source of information and you're tired of misinformation and all that, then why are you working with media companies? Good call. To start solving this problem, we're first going to be attacking the problem at the root, which is working with social media networks and working with largest news media companies to figure out how they work and to see, first of all, see how they can benefit from our solution and see if we can change the way they work and help them save money, help them save time, and help them verify information and reduce the amount of fake news. And of course, our mission overall is to empower everyone with access to reliable information, and we will give access to everyone, of course. Our goal is to establish ourselves as the most trustworthy brand, something that New York Times can put in their website and say, hey, we are powered by this company. So that's what we're doing now, is we are starting working on our brand from the day one and building ourselves with podcasts, with industry events, with just strategic positioning to establish our company as sort of, you can trust us. Number one product every company sells is trust. So that's the importance of brand, that if no matter what product you sell, if people don't trust you, if your customers don't trust you, of course they're not going to buy a product. And of course, if we're selling this software that verifies information and then exposes fake news, of course we're going to be trustworthy. So that's why we're building this brand. Proprietary technology and cool ass product and cool ass brand. Basically, those are the two things that will make us stand out. Another question that I hear all the time from investors especially is like, why your startup is going to be better than a bigger company? Why Google cannot build this? Or like what, any other stupid questions like that. Well, first of all, when you are a multi-billion or multi-trillion dollar company like Google, Microsoft, or Meta, they build their core products like Facebook, operating system, Google search, right? And they focus on them, because when you start to spread out, first of all, you lose focus, and you cannot build that core thing that makes you popular, that makes you the best. So they have to put their brand on the line. That's one thing. Second thing, there's a lot of pressure from the government. And you saw that letter from Mark Zuckerberg that he posted, that Biden pressed him into regulating the information on Facebook. Media cares about you. You have to think of your brand. You have to think of your stakeholders. You have to think about your investors, because you think, you have a multi-billion-dollar startup, you don't work for anyone now anymore? Please, you work for everyone. And I'm like thinking, okay, Microsoft's gonna come after my idea, and they have all the resources, they're gonna crush my company, and they're gonna start building their thing. Well, first of all, it's not their priority, right? If someone has an idea in a big company, they have to go to their vice president, they have to go to their supervisor, and then they'll get a generic like, hey, it's not our main priority, so let's put a pin in that. I'm not even talking about passion. I'm just talking about the allocation of resources and time and money into building that particular idea inside of that big company. So that's why startups have all the edge into building something revolutionary that Microsoft cannot build, right? Microsoft can build anything, but well, what? Besides the operating systems, they built Microsoft Teams, and it's total shit. When you're a startup, nobody cares about you, and you don't care about bad publicity or anything. You just build your thing, hope for the best, you're really passionate about ideas, so that's why you really have an advantage. But of course, you have to have a cool product and also a lot of money to make that cool product. Otherwise, yeah, you're gonna be toasted. We started with AI assistants for virtual work. Then ChatGPT came along. We don't do that anymore. Then we started doing a platform for researching reliable information for students. But students are poor, and universities don't really pay also, and they're very hard to work with. So we work with businesses, and we've pivoted towards full-on exposing fake news. Whoa! Yeah, somewhere there. Yeah, we're moving here. Anyways, along with Dubai, we're gonna be in Italy, and yeah, we're probably gonna be here also, and Spain also. We got into an accelerator. We went to Switzerland. We've built a network, and for the last long time, yeah, we've been fundraising all this time, locked in grinding, sending thousands of emails, fundraising. Turns out,
Imagine, zero.
yeah, Turns out if you are AI startup, no one gives you money still. We thought like, okay, if we call ourselves AI startup, we'll get money. We didn't. Proprietary tech for exposing fake news and verifying information. We're selling to media companies and news media companies, and seems like we have something going on with fundraising.
We are on the right track, but the product itself lacking something, and that's what we are working on, trying to improve it. So it's actually like solving the problem. Now it solves the problem at like 30% of the time.
60% of the time, it works every time.
That's why we're only focused right now on building the product.
In all this media, since it's literally become the tool to control us. Okay, I'm gonna give you like a speech and everything. Because it's a tool to control what we consume in terms of information and the tool to sort of control us. We decided to build this tool to empower everyone with access to reliable information. So that's what we're doing. And that's why we're doing. That's why we're the best. We just frustrated customers. And so we started building this. People building this for people, for you guys. You're welcome. But of course, we're using AI and we're training it in a completely unbiased way to ensure its accuracy and absolutely unbiased tool.
Nicely said.
Thank you.
Nicely said.
I did not practice that. How many stairs are here?
Wow.